there's people who are striving for food in this world. There's nearly 1 billion hungry people on this planet, but we here in the global north just throw food away like it's nothing. If I'm going to do this, it needs to be educational, it needs to be inspiring, it needs to be entertaining, and it needs to hopefully transform the way people look, see, and cook food at home.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Catch Ups in My Kitchen with me, Georgia Simmons, host of the podcast. This week, I am very excited about the guest that has joined me in my kitchen. I have followed him for at least 10 years, and he has inspired so much of my cooking and the dishes that I create at home. I am joined today by Max and Manna, the content creator, chef, and author. The way I met Max is actually a great story and one that I speak about quite a bit in this episode, but we met at a supper club. I went to the Carousel where Max was hosting for the week and enjoyed an incredible meal. And from then on, I was like, Max, you've got to come on my podcast, and we finally made it happen. Max has 1 million followers online where he inspires people to cook delicious plant-based food, which also uses the whole vegetable and therefore reduces food waste, which is another passion of Max's. Max is currently promoting his second book, You Can Cook This, and in this episode we discuss his journey to where he is today. We talk about how and why he turned vegan, how he built his following online, and where his passion comes from. Honestly, I could have spoken to Max all day about all things food. It was such a great episode. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and as always, have a lovely rest of your day. Max, so nice to see you. Welcome to my kitchen. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Georgia.
You're welcome. So to start things off, do you mind giving a quick elevator pitch? Who you are, what you do?
Ooh, who am I and what do I do? I'm Max and Manna. I'm a low-wage chef, author, campaigner, digital content creator, multi-hyphen.
Yeah, amazing.
All of it.
Amazing. I love it. So we have a quick fire round to kick things off about all things food.
Right into it.
Right into it. Sweet or savory?
Ooh, savory.
Pizza or pasta?
Oh, pasta.
Go-to cuisine?
Asian.
And cook in or eat out?
Cook in.
And what's your favorite Deliveroo, or do you Deliveroo?
Ooh, do I do Deliveroo? I do. When I'm in London, I typically just go for, because I'm in Southeast London, so I will go for I think they're Thai, and they're called Thai.
Oh, amazing.
I think it's just called TAI is the name of the restaurant, and I get a drunken noodle.
Nice, good one. I think Asian's always a good one to go for on Deliveroo.
Yeah.
So before I actually go into my first question, I think it'd be really cool to explain to the people listening how I met you at the Carousel. So I remember seeing it, I can't remember how I saw it advertised. I want to say it was on Instagram or something. And I was like, I have to go. Because I followed your page since, my God, years. Since I was at school.
Really?
Yeah, years and years. And I was like, I have to go to this. And I went with my friend. And she's not even vegan. I was like, you're coming. And she's a massive foodie though. And I knew she'd love it. And that was about a year ago now.
Yeah.
Must have been.
Yeah.
And then from that moment, I was like, I'd love to get you on the podcast. I was doing my business before Greedy Vegan at the time, which I've now closed. But I was like, yeah, I've got to get you on the podcast. And now you're here, which is great.
I know,
amazing.
full circle. It's taking its time, but we're here.
Yeah,
I like it.
But that was great. The Carousel was amazing.
I had such a blast there. It was so much fun. It gave me, a perspective of how collaborating with other people and how potentially having a restaurant space of my own and inviting other chefs to come in and have residencies. It's something I want to continue to do. And then also eventually have a business of my own eventually down the line where I too can invite other chefs from around the world to come and cook. So it was a really great experience.
Yeah, it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you've got like your mini stage and like you can perform, which is really cool. I think it's great. So my first question is, can you share like your first food memory?
Yes. My first food memory, it's kind of skewed, I think. Skewed, I think is the word. It's quite skewed because have you ever looked at like a photo or a video from when you were a child and thought, oh, that's the memory, that's the first memory? So I have this kind of skewed look on my first memory of food because of my mother was always filming. This is early 90s home videos. So there's videos of me eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at the kitchen table and like falling asleep at the table, and so like peanut butter and jelly is just smeared across my face. So there's like that memory, but also without having video or photo evidence of that moment, my mother would make homemade tomato sauce every weekend.
Oh, wow.
So Saturday, I'd wake up to the smell of onions and garlic being sauteed. And that was a great moment for me as a child, just trying to get involved in the kitchen. She'd have this large pot of sauce boiling on the stove, simmering away all day long. So I'd like go into the cupboard, sneak some bread, dip it in there, and just try the sauce at various stages of the cooking process. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And what was your childhood like in terms of food? Like, what did you grow up eating? Obviously, you mentioned your mum was great cooking. Did you learn from her? Like, what was your kind of childhood like in terms of food?
I painted this picture in my head that my family were quite foodie people because, I mean, you always hear stories of people or chefs growing up around food and being involved and always wanting to be a chef, and that was not for me. That's not my story, but I feel quite left out when I hear other people talking about that. My father bought his first 2 restaurants when I was 2 weeks old, but they were quick service restaurants, so it was Subway. So my dad managed these restaurants, and I grew up in them as a child up until I was about 14, 15 years old. Never ate Subway as a kid. The smell of it alone was enough for me.
Yeah.
And I would say cuisine growing up was quite basic and quite simple because my father did most of the cooking. My mother worked in television, so she was at the network from the afternoon to the evening. So my father was more of the dinner cook, and there's 4 of us. I have 3 other siblings. So it was mainly pasta, my mom's sauce that she made on the weekends that would last the whole week until Saturday came around. A lot of just like simple practical dishes, rice dishes that had maybe some chicken and vegetables, but nothing ever really deep fried. We rarely ever went out to eat and or had like fast food. Occasionally, if it was after like a sport match or a game. So it was, I think my parents had to be practical when it came to feeding 4 other hungry children.
Yeah, for sure. But you didn't grow up plant-based. You didn't grow up in a plant-based household.
No.
So when was the switch moment for you then, when you became plant-based?
I think I always enjoyed eating vegetables. I think that's important. I never heard of the term vegan before. So when it was introduced to me, this lovely couple, I thought they said vegetarian wrong and they said vegan. And I was like, I have no idea what that is. What are you talking about? This is 12, 13 years ago. And in that moment I said, yeah, let's do it. And they're like, wait a second, what? It was that easy to convert you? I think at where they were in their stage and where I was at in my stage in my life, I was more receptive to the idea. So I decided to do it in the moment and kind of go cold turkey in the moment and go vegan. And that didn't last forever. That lasted for about 3 months. And I couldn't really find inspiration or cuisine. And at the time I just felt like it was expensive to find the foods that I need, and it was hard to mimic the textures and the flavors of what I wanted. And I didn't really know where to look for inspiration or, inspiration. So I fell off the vegan wagon, and started working more in restaurants. So and that kind of helped me give me the base of what I know now. Okay, I can mimic these textures and I can combine these flavors and get more of an understanding of cuisine and flavoring.
Okay, and were you in kind of working in food when you made the switch, or did the switch then motivate you and inspire you to kind of like go down more the food route?
The switch, I always say this. I say I went vegan twice.
Okay.
I think a lot of people say they go on vegan and that was it. Rest is history. Never looked back. And I think it's okay to screw up and mess up and then come back to it if you want to, like I did. So the initial reason was for my health. I have connections in my family, or a history of heart disease and high cholesterol and obesity in my family. So I just didn't want to be another number, statistic. My grandfather passed away when he was 34.
Wow.
I'm now 34. So I'm like, wow, I'm going to outlive.
Wow, that's crazy.
Fingers crossed, I'm going to outlive my grandfather. He passed away when my father was 5. So he didn't really get to know him, and food really wasn't, he didn't know anything about food too growing up. And so no one told him anything about food and how it could be beneficial and how it could be the support that you need to live a long, healthy life. And that's what I want. I want to live a long, healthy, happy life.
Yeah.
The second time, again, was more for health. So the switch was easier the second time around. And I wasn't working in hospitality the first time. I wasn't working in a restaurant at the time, but it was towards the end of that switch where I came back to working in restaurants. So before chefing and cooking, I was modeling and acting in New York City.
Amazing.
So it was, daytime auditions, nighttime working in restaurants.
Okay,
Yeah.
Amazing. And my question was going to be like, what was your why? But I'm guessing it was health.
Yeah.
And then what was your relationship with kind of like meat, fish, dairy before that? Were you like, loved it or fine? Or was there a part of you being like, yeah, what was your kind of relationship with it?
My relationship, I don't mind it. When with the people that work with me, my team and family, if they have fish or meat, it doesn't bother me. I think if it's done right and it's done in a ethical, ethically sourced, if it's sourced ethically, or it has like, this is local, produce or local, options that are from our nearby farm, fine, cool, great. Yeah. Like it's okay. At the end of the day, for them, it's food. I'm not trying to preach or convert or tell anyone to change their diet. I think actions speak a lot louder than words. So what can I say that is going to convert you? You're not going to be able to change from what I say. You'll change just purely from watching what I do. So that's kind of the path I've taken. You have the power to make those changes yourself.
Yeah.
So I might say go plant-based, and you might go plant-based from me saying that, but it's you that makes that choice, that decision. Yeah. So seeing friends and family eat, non-plant-based alternatives is absolutely fine with me. And I've eaten everything that's probably under the sun. I've had an experience of trying everything, and there was a period maybe between the ages of 19 and 23, where I just being open to going to a new city, moving to New York City, and traveling because of work, and just kind of just diving in and trying everything that was out there. Because I was growing up at home where food was quite simple and basic. We had chicken and we had beef. There was never any fish. We never had fish because one of the siblings probably didn't like it, or maybe I didn't like it. So it was just, we're not just gonna buy one. Everyone's gonna have the same meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Do you grow up in a big family?
There's just me and my brother.
Okay.
But kind of similar, like all my family aren't plant-based. I'm so like, you do you. If you want it, you eat what you eat. I eat what I eat. It's fine. I think that kind of makes it easier. Like, it's no need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to create these big barriers between people. Like, I don't know. Everyone's always like, oh, sorry, do you mind if I eat chicken? Yeah. I'm like, why are you apologizing?
Yeah,
you eat your chicken.
Do you mind if I have my tofu?
Yeah, like, it's just not a problem. So when did the whole kind of Instagram thing kick off? So you kind of turned plant-based twice, and then you were like, I'm going to inspire others. When was that moment when you were like, were you posting to kind of keep yourself accountable, or were you posting because it was just fun to like document what you were doing? What happened there? What was the moment?
I was in this in-between phase of working in restaurants and then also acting at the same time. So there was a moment where I looked myself in the mirror and thought, am I really going to slug this out for the long haul? Am I really going to be an actor for the rest of my life? Am I going to try this? I did some shows. I was in some smaller films where I was like an extra, or I had like a really small role where I was, doing the exchange at the counter with like the star, and so I'd get like a small moment on the camera, and it was just, I had to look at myself and think, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Do I want to go into audition after audition after audition, be turned away, and I was used to that because I would go into casting calls all the time for modeling, but the modeling side of things, you just show up and you take a few photos, whereas the acting, you are preparing for a role, preparing for an actor or a character, and there's a little bit more emotion behind it. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit heavier on myself and my being.
Yeah.
And I decided I'm just gonna, move away. 8 years wasn't a total waste, but I'm gonna direct my attention somewhere else.
This podcast is brought to you by Parla, the sustainable solution to all your oral care needs. After having Dr. Simon Chard on the podcast, one of the co-founders of Parla, I was blown away by the facts that he was telling me, such as every tube of toothpaste that you've ever used still exists on the planet today. And that is because the toothpaste tubes aren't recyclable and they aren't biodegradable. So whether you're looking for a high gloss whitening toothpaste tablet or a chewable mouthwash tablet with extra probiotics, Parla have provided the solution to all your oral care needs in a sustainable format. And they also come in this beautiful packaging, which is glass and hence recyclable. So if you're desperate to join the revolution and help me stop the problem of all this plastic going into our oceans, then use the code Georgia Simmons to get 10% off your order and try Parla today. Head to www.parlatoothpastetabs.com or check the link out in the show notes. Let's get back to the episode.
And I decided I'm going to throw myself back into the kitchen, really go for it and see what happens. So I did that for about 6 months. I was throwing myself, working hard, just nonstop, 6 days a week, working 8 hours, 9 hours a day, really trying to see what would come from this. And I decided, I should probably, take some photos of the food that I'm making in the restaurant. And the days that I have off, I'm going to go out and try food. So maybe I'll take some photos of that too. And friends of mine, I was inviting them over, I was cooking for them, and they say, you really need to share this on social media. And I thought, oh God, social media. And I just thought at the time, this is 2016, 2017, all I saw was people doing yoga and eating and drinking like, acai bowls and drinking skinny teas. They're like brand endorsements of, a product.
Yeah.
And I thought, gosh, that's not what I want to do. If I'm going to do this, it needs to be educational. It needs to be inspiring. It needs to be entertaining. And it needs to hopefully transform the way people look, see, and cook food at home. How they store food, how they cook it, how they prepare. So I thought, okay, I have the structure. I have the format in my head. This is what I'm going to do. If I can go back to those pillars of why am I taking this photo? Why am I taking that video? Why am I doing this? Does it go back to any of these pillars or these principles that I have? Then I'll be on a path to somewhere. So I did that a little bit more and more whilst I was working in the restaurant. And one day I went into work and I was like, I'm gonna quit. This is it. I'm just gonna throw myself into this. I'm that type of person. I don't know if you see this in me already, but I'm the type of person to kind of go all or nothing.
Yeah.
Throw all my eggs in one basket,
yeah,
kind of thing, and see what happens. if you end up with no eggs in the basket and nothing happens, sure, I can find more eggs and go somewhere else. I decided to do that, and
amazing. I kind of resonate with that a lot. Like, I'm very much like, I've got an idea, I'm just going to throw everything in, and then, it didn't work. On to the next.
Great. On to the next. Why not?
Yeah, it's like, I definitely abide by the whole, like, just do it. And I just think, why not? And, like, then you learn quicker. So, like, a big part of, like, what you do and what you cook and how you prepare food is about food waste. So, I think this is super important. Like, I think food waste is huge, and I think it's amazing that you're educating people to cut back on their food waste so much. But why was that a passion of yours? How did that come into things?
I think it's several moments in my life, moments of, real kind of looking inwards. My mother, when I was a child, would say, don't throw food away. There's, starving children in the world. They would eat that if they were here, I also grew up parallel, the next street over, directly parallel to my house was a soup kitchen. So we, every day going to school, every day when we left the house, we'd see people lining up to go in and get food from the nearby soup kitchen. Having worked in restaurants and just seeing piles of food on top of things, having worked in restaurants and even myself at home and seeing piles of food in the bin, there was a lot of moments that just kind of added up and piled up on the top of one another. And it made me just think, why are we, there's people who are striving for food in this world. There's nearly 1 billion hungry people on this planet, but we here in the global north just throw food away like it's nothing. And I thought, wow. And we are also throwing away a third of the food that we bring into our own homes here in the UK. So one in every 3 bags of food that you bring into your home, you're throwing away, essentially.
That's mental,
right? And if you're somebody who's, you have a job and you're working long hours, you're working 40 plus hours a week, you have children, you have bills, you have transportation that you have to pay for, car payments, you have a mortgage. We're throwing away. Let's say you spend 100 pounds on food. You're throwing away 33 pounds of food away. That's money that you could be saving. So I was living paycheck to paycheck too when I was working in restaurants, and living in New York City is not cheap. No. So I started looking at my what I can do in my own everyday lifestyle to kind of save money. And yes, there's the environmental impact of all this as well. Food that ends up in a landfill contributes to global heating, global warming. It has a higher CO2 rate than driving a vehicle every day. So there's a lot that's happening with food that ends up in our landfills. But what can we do at home? We can start saving our food. We can become smarter shoppers. We can store our food better. We can use the ingredients more wisely. We can use the entire ingredient. You don't go to a supermarket and just take the cauliflower head and give them the stalk or the stem and say, here, you keep that because I'm not using this. I'm just going to use this. Yeah. We take the whole thing with us. Same thing with like the skins and the seeds to other ingredients. We don't do our prepping there in the supermarket, though that could be an idea. We are buying food to bring home to essentially waste it and throw it away. So we're throwing away our money. Yeah.
It's mad. I really don't know how I've become so on it with food waste. My family, like my mum she cooks, always cooked for us, but like food is not her passion, which I think is why it became mine, because I ended up cooking for the family, doing all the food at home, because she wasn't that bothered. She was like, if you want to do it, you crack on. So I just loved it. But I hate wasting food, and everyone laughs. I have cabbage, it suddenly turns to kimchi. I have something that's frozen, and everyone's like, what? I'm like, I don't know what. I just think I'm literally getting money and just chucking it in the bin. Like, that's how I see it. And it's actually crazy. Like, people do just think, I know you've got something in your fridge. Oh, I'm just going to go get food out. What? Why? Like, you have it in your, I don't get why you would do that. If you've got food in your fridge, like cook with it, freeze it, But the amount of food waste, or like, it is mental. I think I Googled it and they said 9.5 million tons of food gets wasted in the UK a year. And I was like, that's huge.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that was kind of then why you kind of started to inspire people online of how to cook with all the vegetable, And how was that received? Like, did you feel like you were kind of talking to a wall, or did you feel like you were talking to people who were like, oh my God, yay, you're talking my language? Like, how did you find it being received?
Was I talking to a wall? It felt like I was talking to a wall at some points, because sometimes it's like one transaction, right? You create a video, you send it, you put it out, and you're like, you're doing one of those, you're tapping on the mic, you're like, hello?
Yeah, literally.
It's me. Is anyone out there? Yeah, and I think it did stir up some people to think more about their food being wasted. So I left the restaurant and I had no job. I had like $200 in my savings account.
That's
I'm
terrifying.
like, I need to pay rent. Rent is $800 this month, and I lived with 4 other people in a 3-bedroom apartment. So I'm like, I gotta make this happen.
Yeah.
So I think from there I started reaching out to people, and I was a private chef for a family, and then people in random places in America were just sending me messages saying, I need to cook for my family. Can you send me recipes? So I was creating recipes for their family. I'm like, what does your children like to eat? What do you like to eat? Are there any aversion? Like, I was just making it up as I go. And I'm like, and I'm going to save you money while you do this too. So I was getting paid to do these jobs. And that helped me kind of create this momentum. And I had some media outlets reach out to me in the first 4 months of doing social media. 2 big media outlets, Now This and BuzzFeed Food reached out to me, and I did 2 interviews back to back simultaneously, and they were released within 1 week apart of each other, and each video gained me about 30,000 new followers overnight, each video. So I had 60,000 new followers in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. And this is 2017, 2018.
That's crazy.
So I'm like, 6 months ago, I was working in a restaurant, making minimum wage, working long hours, getting home at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, literally kind of scraping by to get rent. And now, like, my video is being, these videos and these interviews are being blasted around the world, millions of views, tens of thousands of followers. And now I'm being asked to come to the UK to cook and host supper clubs and potentially write a cookbook. And I'm like, the world, like,
That's
see what happens
mad.
when sometimes you take a leap of faith and you jump and you say, yeah, let's do it. Things could happen.
Yeah.
A lot of other things, like I think there's a lot of privilege involved as well, but I think it's really important to kind of respect and cherish smaller victories, moments where you came from, but then also take that leap and trust it.
Yeah, I mean, that is a crazy story. One of my questions is going to be, how have you found growing Instagram?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's probably harder now than it was, but that is like a 30,000 followers overnight is a huge jump.
Yeah.
So how have you found the growth over time? Like, do you find Instagram a very different place now to when it was when you started?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I think there's these moments where it goes, for me, there's very clear distinctions, clear moments of when I gain huge amounts of followers or engagement, and I try not to look at the numbers. I try to think more about the quality of the content that I'm putting out there, and really kind of emphasize and focus on that more than, oh, what are the numbers doing? It's important to look at the numbers and see, okay, did this video actually gain me anything? Did it actually produce anything? What was the ROI on this? Did anything happen here? So I think that's really important. For example, I recently did a video where I went to Jamie Oliver's cooking school or headquarters and cooked for him and his team and did some recipes. And as soon as I posted that recipe video, I had about 10 or 20 companies reach out to me, and it didn't get that many views. It had, I think, maybe 500,000 views. I don't think that's a lot.
Yeah.
It might be a lot to other people, so I apologize. But from that, like I said, I think it was around 20 businesses and brands reached out to me asking to partner with me. So I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay, cool. So there are clear moments where my following has grown, and it's the interviews. Instagram introduced Reels. I think it was August 2020. They introduced Reels. And as soon as I got the notification, I turned on my phone and said, introducing Reels. I was like, oh, what's this? Oh, I could post videos. And I was just 2 weeks before, I was editing videos on my phone of me cooking in the kitchen. And I've never done that before. I was always doing stories where I'd cook and then end the video, kind of like what people are doing on TikTok today.
Yeah.
And I was filming on a camera for YouTube. I was like, I got to do this on my iPhone. I think it'll look better. And so I started practicing and filming it on my iPhone. So I already had the video ready. So when I said introducing Reels, I posted the first food reel. I don't know if it was the first food reel for Instagram, but it was one of the first because about 20 or 30, every day I was posting a recipe reel video, and every video I posted was featured. They had this featured tab right above your name on the reel and it said featured. I was like, what's this? That's cool. They're featuring my recipe. Amazing. And it was just blasted to everyone. So I had millions. Wow. Every video I did, every morning I woke up to tens of thousands of new followers with millions of views.
Wow.
So there's these moments, and I think that is just being ahead of the curve on a lot of things. And maybe it's an interview that's on a big media platform. I don't know what the next one is or what's going to happen. I'm constantly trying to think of what's next, or think about, okay, what is the new format? You hear a lot of people doing, let's make whatever that is, or they end the video going, that's delicious. Yeah. And then the video loops around to the beginning and says, let's make my spaghetti, whatever. Yeah. I was one of the first people to do that. So I'm like, I love seeing it on a lot of people's profiles and channels, and I see it across the board, and it's like, great, but I'm like, now need to figure out what's the next thing. I'm like, I've done that before. Yeah. I've done that. What's the next?
Definitely. It's like right place, right time as well, in a way. But then also, I'm very much a believer of like, you do create your own luck. Like, people might be listening to this and be like, oh wow, that's so lucky. And I mean, amazing that you had, you were featured and all of those things. But like, I do think you do create that. Like, working in food's hard. Yeah. Like, you being a chef and working in the kitchen, and like, that is hard work. So all of the previous work, I think, definitely like pays off in some way in life. So, but yeah, I mean, that is amazing.
I like the creative side of it as well. I love being able to think of ideas. I'm constantly thinking of ideas of TV shows, series, challenges, food concepts, food ideas. I'm constantly just thinking, okay, what if this works, and building it out and getting on calls with my team and thinking, can we build this out? And sometimes they just end up at a dead end. We don't think this is going to grow. We don't think this is going to do anything. Okay, scrap it. Let's go back. We'll come and revisit it later. I had a point here. What was that point? Damn it.
But I think that's like part of being a creator. People kind of think, like, we are in a world of creators now, and everyone can kind of like say the word and just be like, whatever. But actually, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of that.
Last night, I cooked at Italy. I did a pasta cooking class. Cool. Taught 15 people how to make vegan pasta from scratch. We made a ravioli and we made a tagliatelle, and everyone's like, "There's no egg in this, right?" And we're just using flour. And what else? And the ingredient that binds everything together is aquafaba. But we don't need to go into that. But the chefs that were part of the school that were kind of my assistants there last night, they started following me on social media, and they're like, wow, how do you cook and film at the same time? Like, I can't grasp it. I don't understand. And I was filming content whilst I was also teaching them how to make pasta. And they're like, I don't know how you're going to do this. I was like, I'll do it. Watch how I do it.
I am so excited to announce that I am now an affiliate of Huel. Huel plays such an important role in my life, and after having the co-founder of Huel, James Collier, on the podcast, I can confirm that when they say each bottle is nutritionally complete with 20 grams of protein and 26 of your vitamins and minerals, they mean it. I am such a breakfast person, and if I haven't had my breakfast in the mornings, you know about it. But sometimes you need something quick and easy, but I am not willing to compromise on nutrition or taste, and that is where Huel comes in. My go-to flavors are chocolate and vanilla, and if you're listening to this and thinking you need to restock on your Huel, head to the show notes and click the link and place your order today. Amazing.
I think it's fun. It's fun for me.
Yeah.
I think I'm quite lucky too when it comes to being in front of the camera, because I've had this upbringing of being in front of the camera and the schooling and the teaching and the acting, and so
yeah, definitely.
Put me in front of a camera and
we're good to go.
We're good to go.
Yeah. So your cookbook.
Yes.
So what was the inspiration behind this one?
This one is all about using up the food you have already. I see a lot of cookbooks that tell you to go out and buy these fancy ingredients or buy this ingredient or buy that, and then you bring it home and you cook. But what happens to the ingredients that you do bring home, or the shop that you bring home and you're not using up that food? So this is for that 33% of food that you typically throw away. So I asked my audience on social media for 2 years. Every month I was asking, which foods are you throwing away this month? Which foods are you throwing away? And I collected tens of thousands of responses, a very large Excel spreadsheet of ingredients, and the number of people who say they're throwing away these ingredients. And I collected that data, and I figured out that there's about 20 or 30 ingredients that we're typically throwing away, they're like the main culprits of these ingredients. And I call them the hero recipes in the book. And those ingredients are featured throughout the book. So when you are in a pinch, you need something quick, you want something simple, delicious, and easy, you flip to that chapter of, let's say, tomatoes or butternut squash or courgettes, and then you have inspiration to cook that courgette or that pumpkin or that tomato.
For me, it would definitely be potatoes and apples. So
really interesting you say that, because I don't think you're alone. Potatoes are the number one most wasted food in the UK. 4.4 million potatoes every day are thrown away. Wow. And apples as well. About 1 million apples are thrown away every day. It's just like, really?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of food.
It's a lot of food. I use Oddbox. I find that's like my easiest way of getting seasonal. I love the whole concept, but I've had to write on it, no potatoes, because I just can't. I'm not a massive potato lover anyway. I like sweet potatoes, but I don't know why. I just don't find they just didn't give much to me.
But I'm gonna play not devil's advocate, but I'm gonna play. I think potatoes are great. I think they require a bit of like once it gets going, you got to boil the water, then you might have to drain them, and then you got to put them in the oven and roast, and like 30-40 minutes have passed already, and you're just like, it's time, it's labor, it's a labor of love with potatoes.
You got to add something to it as well.
You got to add something to it. I think just steaming a potato can be a baked potato is fine. Steaming a potato and figuring out what you do from there, making a mash. Then you get it's several steps of getting to where you want to go, and then you're just like left with the potato. You're like,
wow, it's still
it's still a potato.
It's hard to make it the hero. Like I love thing is a lot with a lot of vegetables, it can be like the hero of the meal. Like courgette, you could do a stuffed courgette, or you can make, you can add it to pasta and all. But like potatoes, like still there. I
have a recipe, and it's probably one of my most cooked recipes, because I see this on social media. I see people tagging me, oh wow, that's interesting. I should actually keep tabs of what recipes are made. That would be interesting. It's a crispy smashed potato. So you parboil it, you take it out of the water, you smash them gently so they kind of break the skin. Then you spread this tomato puree, lemon juice, and olive oil kind of marinade. So it has, when it's baked in the oven and roasted, it gets crispy on the sides. The tomato paste gets a bit sticky. It's like almost umami. It has this like charredness to it, but like soft in the middle. So crispy, crunchy outer layer, umami textures, and then soft in the middle. My mouth is salivating. And then there's like you could do like a spicy mayonnaise base, or what what I'm doing at the moment is using silken tofu and adding some spice and flavors and zest to it to kind of spread on the base of the plate. So you have some protein, you have the crispy smashed potatoes, pickled red onions, and fresh herbs. So it's kind of like a starter. It could be good for picnics. It could also be, you can also tweak it for the holidays that are coming up. So you could do with sweet potatoes and add some like more like warming spices to it, so it feels a little bit more autumnal.
Yeah, nice. That sounds good. I need to try that. So what's the process like writing the cookbook? How was it?
Yeah, for me, I had a lot more time to write this one, which I'm really thankful for. The first book I wrote I had to finish recipes in 3 months. It was a really quick turnaround. This I had a year of testing and developing. So every week I was testing 3 to 5 recipes. So it really kind of like, and I think it proves itself too in the book too, because the recipes are foolproof. They're excellent. I think they're excellent. I think they're amazing and delicious. And I still cook recipes from them even still today. And I wrote the recipes over a year ago. So I'm continuing to cook from them.
Yeah.
And even in some of, like when you met me last year at Carousel, like featured recipes from my book. And so I continue to cook from it. But the process is really interesting. I developed about 300 recipes for the book, and there's only 135. So I did about 300 recipes, testing them out, seeing what's going to work, testing it on friends and family, and thinking, what do you think of this? A lot of recipes were pulled that were meant to be in the book because some of those recipes also were too closely related to other chefs that were also releasing books.
Interesting. I didn't know that would be a thing.
Yeah. Well, I think my publishers are really great. Ebri and my editors and the team are all great because they're just thinking what's going to be the best opportunity. They want a book to sell. I want the book to sell. So they're thinking, how can you stand out from everyone else? And if you have recipes that are, closely similar to other recipes or what other chefs and other cookbook authors have, then what's the point? They can just go and use that recipe. So I had to, separate myself a little bit from that. And so that required a bit of time and work and creativity and thinking, okay, how do I make this more interesting? Or how do I just make this more simple and not have outside, not noise, but just like influence, not to be influenced by other creators or other chefs. So kind of closing myself off. And I simply just ask myself, I grab the ingredient, I kind of like William Shakespeare with the skull and like to be or not to be. I like grab it and I just look at it and go, what am I going to do with you today?
Yeah.
And I think simply just asking that question gave me so much freedom to just be playful and fun. Like I can roast you, I can fry, I can bake, I can saute, I can blend you into a sauce. What am I going to do with this today?
Yeah. And
that just gave me the freedom of like, okay, where's my brain gonna take me today? Where's the path of this one ingredient? And I like starting with the ingredient and just going from there.
Yeah, amazing. And the way you promoted this book, I thought was really cool because you've traveled a lot and you've cooked recipes with other creators and other people.
Yes. And
why did you decide to do that? And what's been your favorite moment from that? Like, who's the person, or maybe there's more than one, where you were like, that was quite cool. Like, that was quite a cool moment.
I think what was really cool, I mean, the very first moment of actually going to Carousel. The Carousel is getting a lot of airplay.
Yeah, you should get paid for this.
Sponsored by Carousel.
Yeah.
Being able to go to Carousel and cook recipes from the book before the book was actually released was like a promo piece 6 months in advance. Here's my recipes.
Yeah, that's good.
Actually, it was 9 months in advance. I think it was 9 months in advance. So here's my recipes. Try them out. Let me know what you think. Oh yeah, by the way, my book is coming out.
Yeah.
And I think that was fun. It was fun to test that out and try it. And then, I offered, I think 50 seats because they can only fit 50 people. Everyone who pre-ordered the book within like the day that I announced the book, that week, within 24 hours, whoever pre-ordered the book that week or in that moment, the first 24 hours, needed to send me the receipt or the proof that they purchased the book or they pre-ordered, and then they would be entered into a raffle to potentially come to a free dinner later that week.
Oh, cool.
So we had people who sent in, proof that we bought the book. I had people from Germany and I had people from Amsterdam travel to come to the dinner. No. I had one guy take a train from Amsterdam, and I was in Amsterdam the week before and went to a place called Margot's in Amsterdam. And the people were like, "We love what you do. Here's all these like baked goods and sandwiches." I went home with cookies and baked goods and croissants and everything and sandwiches. And I was like, "Thank you so much." And I tagged them on social media. And the guy who came to the dinner who won, I don't know who's coming. I just, "Hey, congratulations, you won." I don't have their addresses. I don't know where they are. "Congratulations, you won. Come to the dinner." He booked a ticket, took a Eurostar over. 4 hours later, he's having dinner.
Wow.
Came in for the dinner, I think stayed overnight, left, and went back home the next morning. One girl flew in from Germany to come to the dinner. I mean, it was crazy. So for me, like, it's actually, it is quite mad.
That is amazing.
And working and creating with other content creators has been fun and like a great experience for me, and meeting other people in different countries. Like I went to Germany for the book release and launch of the book in German, and worked with other German creators there. I recently was in Paris and I did content there where more content will be featured, and I'm speaking French, I'm speaking German, and the other bits.
So good.
I was in the US a couple weeks ago, so I worked with content creators out there as well, and we worked on some recipes as well. So it's fun meeting up with these people, but I also think the best moment was actually cooking for people and meeting people who have really supported me and championed what I do.
100%. And I think also it's so nice seeing that they've traveled all the way. You're like speaking to your audience.
Yeah.
That's just super cool.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. And what is your favorite recipe from the book?
Ooh.
I know, it's a hard one.
Oh, that is a hard one. The one that I probably make the most is, and it's kind of on repeat every week or so, I'm probably making my tofu butter chicken.
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah? Did you?
Yeah. I've seen that featured.
It's been featured so many times. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And it just gets better and better. Having like developed the recipe maybe 2 years ago, like I'm now finding more tricks of how to like
make it even
elevate
better.
this and then make it even better. So that's fun. It's fun like working on a recipe and just thinking, how can I make this better?
Yeah.
So like the tofu butter chicken, tofu's pressed, the water's removed, you tear it into pieces, coat it in corn flour, it's baked, so you get crispy golden brown exterior, soft in the middle. It pulls apart, it kind of tears like chicken. And then you have this warm, creamy, vibrant, fragrant curry.
Insane. I think I have made it before, but a while ago, or like something similar, like anything. And I need to make it from your cookbook because I feel like it's amazing. So we have 2 questions to finish things off. Firstly, I would love to know, as a foodie in London, where your favorite plant-based restaurant would be, or even doesn't have to be a plant-based restaurant, just a restaurant in London that serves recommend.
Plant-based options.
Yeah.
I often find that non-plant-based restaurants tend to serve really good plant-based options.
Yes.
I don't know what it is.
Agreed.
This is a really difficult one for me because I'm often cooking at home, but there is one restaurant that I went to twice in 1 week because it was that good. I've never done that before. Wow. Never gone to a restaurant twice in 1 week and thought, I'm coming back. And that was, you probably never heard of it. It's really small. It's kind of out of the way. It's called Naifs. Naifs, or Knives.
Oh, wow.
Naifs or Knives. I've asked them, I said, how do you pronounce this? They're like, whatever.
Okay.
Is it Naifs or Knives? Like, it's whatever. I'm like,
okay.
Cool.
Wow. Cool.
Naifs. So what they end up doing is their menu is broken down into like starters. Like you can order from the starter menu, or you could just order from the set menu. And the menu, so you order some starters, they come to the table, and then everyone is allowed like the set menu. And I think that's what like the whole kind of premise is. Like you come to the restaurant, you're going to end up having this set menu. And it's 5 dishes, and the 5 dishes hit the table at the same time. So and it's a really small kitchen. It's smaller than your kitchen.
Wow.
So you go in and there's 2 people in there, and you're like, yep, I'll have, obviously you're like anything else, because you know that you're going to get the set menu, and then it comes out at the same time, and it's sharing. It's modern, contemporary, plant-based food, and it's delicious. Seasonal produce. The menu's always changing. Really kind, lovely family who run it. I think they're all brothers who run it.
Oh, amazing.
So like one brother is doing like table service and wine and drinks and cocktails, and he's making the cocktails, and then the other brothers are in the kitchen cooking.
So cool.
So it's really nice. I'm like, wow, you brothers look really cool, calm, and relaxed. Do you get on each other's nerves? And they're like, yeah, sometimes. But they're like down to earth, really calm people.
Amazing. And where is it?
Southeast London. It's just in Peckham.
I need to try that. That is amazing. But I also agree with you. Like normally, non-plant-based is where I'd go. Also for the ambience and the vibe, I feel like it's always stronger. But if you do find a good plant-based restaurant, then that is great. So I need to try that out.
Try it out. It's out of the way. If you get the tube there, you're gonna end up having to walk a mile to get there.
Oh, wow,
it's like tucked away in a little community.
Oh my god, amazing though.
Yeah, it feels very homey. It has a really home feeling to it. They have like it's very quiet. You go there and you're like, am I in Peckham?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Feels like you're
I would recommend
out.
getting a car, getting into a vehicle and getting there, or riding a bicycle to get there.
Yeah, fine. Okay, easier. I will definitely do that.
Cool.
And another tradition on the podcast is we always finish with the same question, which is, what would your last meal be? Starter, main course, and dessert. I know it's really on the spot.
Yeah. Gosh. Starter. I would have starter, main, and dessert. Starter. Oof. What would I have for a starter? Gosh, you're throwing me on the spot.
I know.
You know what? Because it's my last meal, and you asked me in the beginning of the podcast, pizza or pasta. So I'd probably start with pizza.
Okay, nice.
I'll start with pizza. Start with pizza. Classic. I like a simple kind of tomato base with some cheese.
Yeah.
Obviously, plant-based cheese.
Plant-based cheese.
Do
you have a favorite plant-based cheese brand?
Oh, man. At the moment, I'd probably say Julian Bruno.
Yeah.
Have you had them?
They're doing well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Like their burrata is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then what's the other one? Totally honest or honestly tasty?
Yeah.
Can't wait to try that.
Yeah, they're cool. They're great.
So I just keep it really simple. I think if the crust and the dough is nice, then you don't need much. And the sauce is nice, not too sweet, not too acidic. I think just having a simple pizza. I don't need 15 toppings.
No, just plain simple. It's
Plain
a
and
starter
simple.
as well, so keep it.
It's a starter. Keep it light.
Keep it light.
Keep it easy. And then I'd move into pasta.
Pasta for main.
Pasta for main. Pizza and pasta, which I've done. And I call that actually having two dinners. I call it a bang bang.
I love that.
So I tend to do this often with my friends, where we'll eat dinner at one place. We won't even have starters. We'll just have a dinner option, and they're like, any starters? Nope. We're just going in with this dinner, the main course, and then leave and go somewhere else and have something else.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And we switch it up. We'll do different cuisines. So we'll do like Asian and maybe Mediterranean.
That's so cool.
Middle Eastern and Italian.
Yeah, amazing.
So I'd have some sort of pasta dish, maybe some like a vegan spaghetti bolognese, or tagliatelle or bici, mafaldi. Like the pasta shape, I love them all.
Yeah.
Cavatelli, gnocchi, anything. It's fine with me.
Yeah.
And dessert, I like a chocolate chip ice cream sandwich.
Oh, wow. 2
chocolate chip cookies in the middle is ice cream.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Where'd you get that, which is vegan around here?
I mean, this is why I cook.
Sorry, yeah, obviously. You'll create it. Amazing. Talking of pasta, have you read Stanley Tucci's book?
Yes.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it.
I know, it's so good. When he was saying about how like every pasta has its sauce, and like you can't like it's illegal.
I'm like, you're speaking my language, Stanley.
100%.
Why did I think of that?
Yeah, like it's so true. Max, thank you so much for joining me. Honestly, I feel like we could just keep talking about food, but like I better wrap it up, otherwise people are like, come on. But thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Georgia.
It's been super great. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I absolutely loved that episode, so I really hope you guys did too. As always, please help me spread the word of Catch Ups in My Kitchen. We are really trying to bring you some really exciting and new guests to bring this podcast and take it to the next level. So I do need your help in that process, and all I need you to do is click the subscribe or follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts to help get more people to click on Catch Ups in My Kitchen and listen to the amazing guests that I have on. Honestly, it makes a huge difference and it's such a simple thing. So thank you so much in advance, and I'll see you again next week.